So today's lesson is going to be about an actual migration that has taken place here in the United States. And we're going to do two migrations this week that have taken place on US soil. One that is a forced migration, and the other example is of a voluntary migration. The one that we're going to start with today is a forced migration, and it covers the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. So, this was an event that took place over a period of years, and it had a major impact on the plains. And the plains are the states that are in the center of our country. The Great Plains are the dry grasslands between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains. And they were mostly used for cattle ranching and um, raising grain crops. So after World War I, there was a demand for food that led to an extensive over-farming of land. And as you can see, this shows an example of the Great Plains. This is a very large area. It goes from Texas all the way through parts of New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, even parts of Minnesota you can see right here. Really big area. In 1931, something really important happened that kind of got the ball rolling on the Dust Bowl. And that was that there was a drought where the rainfall amounts just began to drop over less and less, and the summer temperatures were unusually high. So a lot of days over 100 and a lot less rain. And the drought conditions worsened through the decades. So normal rainfall didn't return until 1939. So for a period of 9 years, they were getting far less rain than they would normally get in that part of the country. The storms that would come are referred to as black blizzards. And without the prairie grass to keep the dirt in place, and the prairie grass wasn't there because they had over-farmed it, so they'd cut it all down. And without the grass there to keep the dirt in place, the fine topsoil, so the really kind of loose soil that you can see at the top of when you can grab like a cup of dirt, that began to blow away. And it would create these storms, these big black dust storms. Here are some pictures of what these storms look like. So these were not tiny, just windy sandstorms. This was walls of dirt and sand that were covering towns. You can see in this next picture, this area got so much dirt blown at it that it covered up an entire car almost completely. So the worst part of the Dust Bowl happened in this area. So mostly Kansas, parts of Colorado, parts of New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. Here's another photo that shows what these storms look like. They were huge black clouds, and this went on for years that these dust storms would come and cover entire towns. On April 14th, 1935, there were 20 storms that occurred in the Dust Bowl region, and the entire day was pitch black from these storms that stretched all across the plains. That day is referred to as Black Sunday. Now, the effects this had on farmers is that they couldn't farm any crops, so they weren't making any money. Then they couldn't pay their bills on their homes, so they were getting foreclosed on, and it caused major health problems from all the dust that people were breathing in. And this led to displacement. This led to these people becoming migrants and refugees and looking out west for places to relocate to. And the legacy of this is that over 300,000 people in that decade left the Great Plains. Almost all of them went west. And that area of our country continues to be very environmentally sensitive. The Dust Bowl refugees were met with hardship and mistrust in their new homes, and people were resentful. The people who lived in California were resentful of all these new people coming and taking jobs and taking homes. And so it wasn't always easy for those refugees to make a happy life there. It did, however, lead to the US government understanding the importance of preventing anything like this again, and they stopped doing all of the over-farming following this very hard lesson.